All right, Shalom. Kahalo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rekahak Radash. Shalom and salutations and double honors to the elder apostle, great millstone that rule well, who I continue to learn throughout the prayer sacrifice in your lessons. Shalom also to the elder bishops out of Connecticut, the elders and the prophets, the teachers and evangelists, also of great millstone, who I continue to learn this 100% truth from. Yahweh Yahushai. Shalom also to the speckled bird, the confused face, the Akim and Agua, the Akim on the highways and byways, and last but not least, the elect. And what you have here is just some old paintings, think from the 13th century, or maybe the 12th century, and further up, I guess. But it's just showing you how these devils, how they play and how they do what they do, and how people need to know history. Therefore, you cannot trust your enemy. And I think I heard some women say that too. But that's Jake's biggest problem, is coming back to trust this devil. And every time he gets you to trust him, he whack you in the head, and you get stupid. You get even more stupid. So I got a couple of videos I'm gonna play, and I'll give you some scripture. Check it out.
Many Moors were actually against slavery, recognizing that the mass enslavement of Slovenians, Slavs, was causing the empire to decay. These noble Moors worked to uplift white people, bringing them out of caves, teaching them to read, bathe, and prepare food, eventually freeing and accepting them into society.
Fair use, fair use, fair use. I don't have any copies, only rights to this, to music in the back. And I'm only using this for educational purposes. All right, 1976 Act.
Through fraternal orders, Joan of Arc was a full-blooded, melanated Moor from the original Asiatic lineage. When Netflix tries to show a glimpse of the truth by casting melanated actors, they boycott and cancel the show because it proves the empire of Moors was running the entire planet. We didn't fall because of some inherent white superiority. We fell to our own people who, once divided by greed and
listen up. This is good information right here. Listen up.
Internal power struggles, decided to use the so-called white man as a proxy to disinherit one another. Bleaching out was accelerated because many Moors had an appetite for white slave women and concubines, taking them into harems to create human bouquet or variants within the gene pool. These lighter-skinned children, the amalgamated or Franciscan Moors, were often raised under the heavy influence of their slave mothers. These mothers would teach their children to identify with their own Roman or European heritage, rather than their father's Moorish nobility, leading these children to fight against the very idea of being Moors. Eventually, these amalgamated heirs worked from the inside to supplant the original order, trading their true birthright for the status of white or Spaniard, while systematically hiding the true history and making the original Moors appear as ghosts. The fall of Granada in 1492 was...
This is Matthew 3:24. If a kingdom is be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. Yahweh is prophesying, telling you this is what happened to our people.
The death knell that allowed the Jesuits and the Vatican to follow our Moorish bloodlines and systematically bleach them out through parochialism and forced education to ensure we would never be the true divine inheritors again. They used systemic iconoclasm and art restoration during the Renaissance to repaint our noble ancestors, romanticizing them into white decoys to keep you disinherited from your allodial title and global inheritance, making the masters look like the slaves while they moved into our structures. A stratigraphic lie designed to flip world history to hide the fact that we were the ones with the heavy technology, anti-gravitational devices, spiritual somatics, and advanced tech our people used to grow buildings out of the ground.
Nowhere to reach or prosper, or penetrate what I accomplish. Peace to the conscious, my true
me get the next video.
Before they bleached the bloodline in the Meiji era, you had the Kuro, the Black Kings. Yeah, look it up. Kuro means black, means king. Same word they use now for black paint. It used to mean us. Ever heard of the Jomen? The people with thick hair, dark skin, and broad faces? Those were the original islanders. Every archaeologist worth their student loans knows it. The bones don't lie, but the university paycheck do. Check the Tohoku University digs. They literally found afro-textured hair impressions in ancient pottery. Receipts, baby. Then you had the Satsuma and Ryukyu nobles down in Okinawa, darker than half your cousins on funeral day in July. They traded with Africa and Indonesia before Europe could even spell ship. You want sources. Look at Portuguese travel logs from the 1500s. They describe the rulers as brown and tattooed like Moors. And don't get me started on the black Buddhist monks coming up from Sri Lanka and India. They're the ones who taught martial arts to China, before Bruce Lee even became a thesis topic. That's right, Shaolin didn't start with no pale ball extras in kung fu movies. Go look up Bodhidharma. He ain't white, he ain't East Asian. That man looked like he eats fufu and sparring for breakfast. Before they painted everybody pale and pretended we ain't never existed, the rulers of the East looked more like your aunties and uncles after a hot summer day. These were Jomon queens, Shang kings, Okinawan sea lords, black shoguns, the Moorish monarchs who ran the Silk Road before silk even had a price tag. But then the Meiji boys got insecure, China started bleaching its history books, the Mongols got whitewashed like they dropped into a bucket of baby powder, and suddenly everybody want to act like Asia been pale since the Shar-Chow dynasty. Lies. Before the erasure, Europeans were still writing about black nobles in Japan, calling them Moorish Asiatics and drawing them with afros, broad noses, and royal kimonos.
Why you see that? It's also the same with the Chinese as well. Scriptures like Psalms 83 come to my mind.
Stopping that. The crazies and extremists in Israel, they believe that something they call Edom, which is their name for the West, has to be destroyed before the Jewish Messiah can come to rule the world from Jerusalem. They're talking about the Messiah coming. They're talking about Jesus, say the Christians. No, they're not. They're talking about the Jewish Messiah. The Messiah is going to come to rule the world, and the West has to be brought down before that can happen, they say. And their means to destroy the West is mass immigration. They describe Islam as Israel's broom to sweep away Christianity. You think I'm kidding? I ain't.
At the end of days, you're going to need the iron of Esav, which represents Edom, which is the West, Europe, and the Americas, to get intermixed with Ishmael, which is basically Arabs and Muslims. How in the world was this ever going to...
That's what their forefather Esau did too. As soon as he was marrying the so-called African women and other women as well, you know what I mean, to get some melanin. You know, he thought he would, you know, be able to get some melanin into his skin. So he was marrying, you know, the darker race of people.
Now, the cool thing, too, if you want to...
Israel, they believe that something they call Edom, which is their name for the West, has to be destroyed before the Jewish Messiah can come to rule the world from Jerusalem. They're talking about the Messiah coming. They're talking about Jesus, say the Christians. No, they're not. They're talking about the Jewish Messiah. The Messiah is going to come to rule the world, and the West has to be brought down before that can happen, they say. And their means to destroy the West is mass immigration. They describe Islam as Israel's broom to sweep away Christianity. You think I'm kidding? I ain't.
At the end of days, you're going to need the iron of Esav, which represents Edom, which is the West, Europe, and the Americas, to get intermixed with Ishmael, which is basically Arabs and Muslims. How in the world was this ever going to happen if not for this refugee crisis? At the end of days, you're going to have this intermixing between Esav, Edom, which is the West, and the East, which is the Muslims and the Arabs, making this influx into the world. And they're going to have children, I don't want to say by the dozens, but they're going to have a far larger birth rate than the indigenous people there. And they're going to conquer by number. The idea of having these refugees come into Europe, it's no longer a matter of whether it's right or wrong. It's just simply a fulfillment of what it was meant to be all along. It's the fulfillment of the Chazal and the prophecies.
Le Mashiach viendra que quand Edom, l'Europe, la chrétienté sera totalement tombée. Donc je vous pose la question, c'est une bonne nouvelle que l'islam envahisse l'Europe? C'est une excellente nouvelle, ça annonce le Mashiach. Excellente nouvelle. Vous allez payer très cher les Européens. Mais à un point, vous n'avez même pas notion de quoi on parle. Et vous n'aurez pas au fil. Parce que tout le mal que vous avez fait à Israël, vous le paierez au centuple. Quand l'Italie disparaîtra, quand Edom, c'est pour ça que le QG de la chrétienté qui vient de Esav se trouve là-bas, quand cet endroit-là disparaîtra, et c'est ce que veut faire l'islam, surtout, l'islam c'est le ballet d'Israël, sachez-le.
What you have are the Tommy Robinsons of this world opposing mass immigration while supporting Israel that ultimately is behind mass immigration.
Maybe right there. Let's get some scriptures. Here's what I want to do. This is Exodus 20:4. And it reads, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am Yahweh, thy power. I am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing my mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Okay. Deuteronomy 4:16. And it reads, Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, and likeness of a male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, and likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, and the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Verse 19 in NLT. And when you look up into the sky and see the sun, moon, and stars, all the forces of heaven, don't be seduced into worshiping them. Yahweh, your power, gave them to all the peoples of the earth. Leviticus 26:1, and it says in the KJV, in the blue letter, blessings of obedience. Ye shall make no idols, nor graven images, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your hand to bow down unto it, for I am Yahweh your power. So Yahweh Shah is establishing with us to not put anything above or in front of him. see, Numbers. Numbers 33 and 55, and it reads in the NLT, "But if you fail to drive out the people who live in the land, those who remain will be like splinters in your eyes and thorns in your side. They will harass you in the land where you live, and I will do to you what I had planned to do to them." Woo! And this is why we're in the positions we're in, because we chose not to follow the instructions and do what Yahweh Shem Yahushua wanted us to do. There's another scripture I'm looking for. I'm trying to let it come to my mind as I'm talking to you. Deuteronomy 7 and 5 in the NLT. "This is what you must do. You must break down the pagan altars and shatter their sacred pillars, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols. For you are a holy people who belong to Yahweh, your power. Of all the people on the earth, Yahweh, your power, has chosen you to be his own special people." You can't get around that. And what happened was, again, like they told you in history, we decided we were brought down because we went against each other, and they used that against us, and they started bleaching and marrying into our bloodline. You know, Jake definitely, loved a variety of different women, and when we was dealing with the Shedemite, they started to, as the scriptures, as not the scriptures, but the man was telling you, they started to raise the kids up and tell them to embrace being an Edomite versus being a Jake, being a Moor or whatever, you know what I mean? And they overthrew their people, because that was a house divided right there, because those kids were still Israelites, male and females. I'm looking for a certain scripture. I'm having a problem finding it. Damn, what is that scripture? Second Kings 18 and 4, and it reads, "He removed the high places and break the images and cut down the groves and break in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made. But unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it, and he called it Nehushtan." Now, what does that word Nehushtan means? I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but you know how that go. Nehushtan.
Strong's H 5180. Nehushtan.
Nehushtan. A thing of brass. Okay, that's what that meant. 23. Stay in 2 Kings 23:24. And it reads in NLT, "Josiah also got rid of the Medians and physiques, the household powers and idols, and every other kind of detestable practice, both in Jerusalem and throughout the land of Judah. He did this in obedience to the laws written in the scroll that Hezekiah, the priests have found in Yahweh's temple. So lucky, man. Bear with me. I'm looking for a specific scripture. And I want to say it's in the Apocrypha. There we go. Call Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai. 1 Maccabees 3:48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. And this is what the heathen have been doing. They have been changing and flipping things and trying to destroy as much as pictures they could find of Jake being the prophets, rulers on the earth, all these things when we were prominent and in control of the world. Esau's trying to get rid of. He doesn't want you to remember that. But Yahweh Shem Yahushai, with this internet, he's allowing it to be seen through the unicorn, and they're losing their mind. So you best believe they're going to shut this down real soon. We ain't going to be able to study and learn anything no more. You know what I mean? And they're only looking for slaves, and if you don't fit that bill, then they're going to get rid of you. Or if you're not trying to, you're not trying to be a slave, then, you're useless to their society. So, I've been rocking so you're edified with the lesson, man. With that, I'm going to say, call Lord Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Shalom, and salutations and double honors again to the elder apostles of GMS on down, and Shalom to the elect. Shalom.